Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 16th of November 2020. In this video, we'll be discussing a couple of issues. The first one is with respect to the RCEP and a comprehensive analysis as to how this China-led trade body has taken off. The second one is with respect to the journalistic ethos and the protection that the state must provide to the journalists and also ensure that accountability exists in judiciary. So we are talking about RCEP or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It is a mega trade bloc, meaning that there are countries which are worth 30% of the global GDP. So there are 15 countries in this. Previously, India was a part of the negotiations. So if you want to remember who these countries are, 10 of the 15 countries include ASEAN. So please by heart the ASEAN countries and you will be easily remembering which countries are a part of this RCEP negotiations for your preliminary exam. Apart from this, we also have China, which has been the leader, and the global anti-China movement has actually failed to take off in the context of RCEP because all these countries have decided to move forward because they see some sort of advantage when they want to associate with China. And this is also a huge positive for China, which has been facing a global backlash. Apart from these 11 countries, the other 4 are South Korea, New Zealand, Japan, and Australia. So, Japan is a major trade partner when we talk about the Asia Africa growth corridor along with China. And similarly, Australia is an important partner with respect to Quad. One of the major reasons as to why India declined to join this is because we don't have enough infrastructure to tap into the export potential and markets of this trade deal. So what will happen is it will adversely impact our farmers, especially the dairy sector. Because if you take a look at the dairy sector, Australia and New Zealand are the market leaders. They can produce huge quantity of milk at a very low cost, and it will impact the economies of the farmers and also dairy workers who are associated with this industry. So that has been one of the major apprehension to stop this trade deal last year. And similarly, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that is required to grab the export potential of the market. Say for example, if you're talking about industries, there are a lot of industries from which China has actually moved away from, and this opportunity has been taken up by smaller countries like Vietnam, which will be in a much better position to utilize this RCEP deal. But if we have to take the case of India, the MSME sector is still struggling, and that is the reason why India felt that we have to insulate our market from this trade deal. That is the reason as to why they walked out of this RCEP deal on 4th of November 2019. So despite the pandemic, the advantage is clearly on the side of China and shows the idea of decoupling from China is not exactly a substantive issue when we're talking about IR or international relations. So this has been the agenda which is driven by the West, but if you take a look at the East, they are still concerned about their own concerns, and the agenda of Quad, which has been to contain China, will see very minimum success in this region if this trade deal proves to be equitable for all the stakeholders involved. That is the gist of this article. In the coming days, we might have a lot of articles on RCEP. So we'll look at the analysis part of this once we get there. This article is in the context of the Supreme Court's order to grant an interim bail to television anchor Mr. Arnab Goswami. So this is titled Protect Our Republic, My Lords, and this is in the context of the case that we're talking about. So according to the views of the author, the Supreme Court has actually struck a blow for personal liberty when it has granted an interim bail to the television anchor Mr. Goswami, but they did not pass the order in many other cases of journalists who were jailed without sufficient evidence. So there was a lack of intent from the judiciary, and also there was no priority as seen in the case of Mr. Goswami. So, this has been the complaint that was raised recently by a bunch of journalists. The first problem that the author cites in this context is the way in which he has obtained the bail. So, naturally, when someone is suddenly arrested, it is a difficult time for most of the people. In many cases, it's the first period anyone has ever experienced a situation like that, and it can be a very confusing moment to say the least. However, when one fully understands the bail bond system and the process in which it is understood, it makes it much easier to feel relaxed and to understand that it is going to be all right. So, in this case, where the accused was arrested on the charges that he had forced the suicide of an interior designer by denying him payments which are due to him, it was supposed to be investigated. So, what happened in this case is, instead of failing for a bail, what Mr. Goswami has actually done was file a habeas corpus petition in the High Court. Those who don't know what a habeas corpus petition means, please go to your Lakshmikant textbook and read it again. So, this is a sort of overriding the regular bail hearings, whereas a sessions court was due to hear this bail petition. The matter was directly taken to the High Court. Again, on this case itself, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Justice Chandrachud, made an observation that if we don't interfere in this case today, we will walk on a path of destruction. So, according to the authors of this article and also the previous editorials on the same issue, so these authors have a problem with the conception in which the judiciary has been trying to reason this bail, but is not giving the same priority to other journalists and other accused. So, how should be the relationship between the judiciary and the executive? So, we can actually quote verbatim the quotation made by Chief Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya in 1993. He said that the relationship between the government and the court should not be cordial but correct. Cordiality between court and government has no place in our constitutional scheme of checks and balances. So, this is to say that the court must function not with a sense of cordiality or friendship, but there should be certain correctness. It should stick to the constitutional moral code of conduct and constitutional morality. So, that is when the real spirit of the idea of checks and balances will come into picture. So, this was completely missing in the judgments of late, according to the author. Also, the courts have gained some infamous reputation of late, because there are accusations by a lot of activists that whenever we are questioning the courts, contempt of court is used as a tool to silence them. This has been the case, according to the some of the critics, even in the case of Prashant Bhushan, who was recently accused of contempt of court. So, we have to take all these into considerations and understand that the real functioning of the court is in the matter of constitutional principles, especially when we're talking about Supreme Court. This was clearly visible, according to the author, in the lackadaisical attitude of the court with respect to the Citizenship Amendment Act, or prevented detentions in Kashmir, or the dilution of Article 370. And similarly, appeal against the gag order of Andhra Pradesh High Court. See, recently we have discussed another article wherein the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, has actually accused a Supreme Court judge of trying to influence the matters in the AP High Court due to his affiliation with the opposition leader. So, this matter was not looked at, and the fact that this has not been interrogated properly is a matter of question of judicial accountability. Similarly, if we take a look at the contempt of court cases against the stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra, what is the kind of message that the courts are trying to give by not prioritizing the habeas corpus petitions and other writ petitions filed by other journalists and other dissenters in the democracy, and prioritizing a supporter That is what these line of articles are saying. These are the views of the author. So what kind of message are we trying to exactly give to the common public? The author further points out issues like the arrest of Mr. Varvar Rao, or whether it is about Sudha Bharadwaj, who are actually incarcerated from a long time, and their cases are pending from 2018 despite their ill health and age. Mr. Varvar Rao is aged 80 and Sudha Bharadwaj is aged 59. So all these fighters of civil liberties were detained by the government according to the views of the author, and this is not an attitude expected from the judiciary. So the problem is not with the way in which Arnab Goswami's case was handled. The problem, according to the author, is the way in which these cases are ignored or not prioritized. That is the gist of this article. So we have to take into picture the Article 14, which is considered to be the cardinal principle, which joins the garland of our constitution. So Article 14, which is the right to equality, should be the guiding force for us going forward in respect to these sort of issues.